Did you ever wonder that the way you dress affects the way that people perceive you? Well, so did we. And in trying to find an answer to that question, we looked at previous literature. And guess what? Previous researchers have been curious about it too. We meet people every day, and almost always we try to make a good impression. That's why in an interview we try to look our best. So we looked at one study done in 1975 that looked at the effects of clothing style upon the reactions of a stranger. In that study, the researchers made one person dress up in two different ways, a smartly and an untidily way, and work as a market researcher for one day. In that study, they found there was a significant difference between the amount of people who were agreeing to the contracts when the research marketer was dressed up in a smartly way rather than an untidily way. However, that significant difference only worked for women, which was a surprise to us. So then we looked at another study done in 2008 that looked at the impact of style of dress on professors. So that's another thing that's very interesting to us, being that we're in a college campus and we constantly see professors. So do we judge professors just by the way they dress? Do we think that some of them are more trustworthy or not? Well, that study that was done in 2008 actually made students rate professors on attractiveness, trustworthiness, credibility, and likability scales just by the way that they were dressed. And, surprise, surprise, they found a significant difference between the way that the professors were dressed and the way that students judged them. The last article that we looked at was one on self-perceptions. In that study, researchers looked at the way that people feel when they are dressed a certain way. What they found was that people felt more authoritative and trustworthy in formal clothing. However, people felt much friendlier in casual clothing. Those significant results, along with all the other previous studies that we looked at, inspired us to make up our own question and examine if appearances matter in our own campus here at Hunter College.
We hypothesized that more students would be willing to take flyers if my colleagues and I were dressed up. Our independent variable being the type of attire we wore, casual versus formal, and our dependent variable is the number of flyers that students were willing to take.
Method. Participants. 490 Hunter College students that passed by participated in the study. Materials. Being dressed formal or dressed casual, small flyers that said "Have a nice day" with 2 smileys, and 2 sheets of paper to record data on. Procedure. We conducted the study dressed formal and dressed casual. 3 people stood on the first floor of the north building and 2 people stood on the 4th floor of the west building and handed out small flyers that said "Have a nice day" and had 2 smileys. One person would stand giving out flyers dressed formal or casual, and someone else would count the first 49 people that would pass by, and then we would switch. Every person gave out flyers dressed formal and dressed casual, with only the first 49 people walking past being used in the study. We then took our collected data and put it into SPSS and conducted a binomial test to see if more flyers were taken when one was dressed formal or dressed casual.
For our results, we found that in the casual attire scenario, 103 people took a flyer and 142 people did not. A binomial test revealed that there is a significant difference between people taking a flyer and not taking a flyer, in which p equals 0.015 and p is less than 0.05. In the formal attire scenario, 184 people took flyers and 64 people did not. There is also a significant difference between people taking a flyer and not taking a flyer, in which p equals 0.000 and p is less than 0.05. The results show that significantly more people took flyers when we were in formal attire than when we were in casual attire.
Discussion. Our results did agree with our hypothesis. We found significant differences between the number of flyers taken in casual attire as well as number of flyers taken in dressy attire. Our results correspond with past data. Past data found differences in casual and professional attires. Some limitations of the study was the location and time. The location, we had used 2 different locations, and we had various times in which we conducted the experiment. Also, the type of clothes that we wore were casual and dressy. And as it is known, there are many other types of clothes that could have affected our study. Contributions of the study are that companies are able to use these results in order to gauge the type of attire their employees should wear when advertising their products. Also, the general population can use these results in order to plan outfits for interviews or gatherings of such. Our results show that a person's perception of an outfit can determine whether they take a flyer or don't take a flyer. Future research can be by creating a new study that looks at other types of clothing, such as sportswear, and whether sports clothing make a difference and whether people are more likely to join a gym if the advertising individual is in sportswear instead of jeans.